Jason Statham. A name that doesn't just echo through Hollywood, but punches through it with raw intensity, relentless grit, and an energy that feels almost untouchable. But what if everything you thought you knew about Jason Statham is only the surface of a story far more painful than anyone ever imagined? What if behind the calm stare, the calculated movements, and the unstoppable action persona lies a reality so heavy that even at 59, it still refuses to let go? Because the truth is, Jason Statham didn't just build his career from nothing. He built it while carrying a weight that most people would never survive. From the outside, his life looks like the ultimate success story. But underneath it all is a chain of struggles, sacrifices, and silent battles that turned his rise into something far more tragic than inspiring. Jason Statham, the man who redefined action cinema, the man who made toughness look effortless, the man who turned every role into a statement. But long before the fame, before the cars, before the global recognition, there was a different reality. One filled with uncertainty, pressure, and moments that could have easily broken him completely. Growing up in a working-class environment in England, life was never handed to him on a silver platter, and nothing about his journey was smooth or guaranteed. His early years were shaped by discipline and survival, not luxury. And even though he found an escape through sports, particularly diving, it wasn't the glamorous dream people assume. Competing at a high level sounds impressive, but behind that was years of relentless training, financial strain, and the constant fear of failure. Representing his country didn't bring wealth or stability. It brought pressure, intense, unforgiving pressure that demanded perfection while offering very little in return. And when that chapter of his life ended, it didn't end with celebration. It ended with uncertainty, with the terrifying question of what comes next. Because when you dedicate your entire life to something and it suddenly disappears, you're left facing a void that can swallow you whole. And that's exactly where Jason Statham found himself. No clear path, no guaranteed future, just a man trying to figure out how to survive in a world that suddenly felt unfamiliar. Before Hollywood ever noticed him, he was hustling on the streets, selling goods, doing whatever it took to get by. Not because he wanted to, but because he had no other choice. And that part of his life is often overlooked, but it's one of the most telling pieces of his story. Because it shows that his foundation wasn't built on dreams of fame. It was built on survival instincts. Instincts that would later define his entire career. But even then, nothing about his situation was stable. Every day was unpredictable, every opportunity uncertain, and every decision carried risk. And then came the moment that would change everything. Being discovered by Guy Ritchie wasn't just luck. It was a turning point that shifted his entire trajectory. But even that breakthrough didn't come without challenges. Stepping into acting with no formal training, no safety net, and no guarantee of success is a risk that most people wouldn't take. And yet he did. Because for him, standing still was never an option. His early roles were raw, unpolished, and real. But behind that authenticity was a constant pressure to prove himself, to show that he wasn't just a one-time discovery, but someone who deserved to stay. And in an industry that is known for discarding talent as quickly as it discovers it, that pressure can become overwhelming. Every performance wasn't just a role, it was a test. Every film wasn't just a project. It was a chance that could either elevate him or end everything. And as his career began to rise, so did the expectations, the demand to deliver more intensity, more action, more perfection. And that's where the hidden cost started to show. Because becoming an action star isn't just about acting, it's about physical sacrifice, about pushing your body beyond its limits again and again until it starts to break. And Jason Statham didn't just perform stunts, he became known for doing them himself, which meant putting his life on the line repeatedly for the sake of authenticity. And while audiences celebrated the realism, very few understood the toll it was taking behind the scenes. Injuries, exhaustion, and the constant risk of something going horribly wrong became part of his reality. But stopping was never an option. Because in Hollywood, momentum is everything. And once you slow down, you risk being replaced. So he kept going, pushing harder, working longer, and ignoring the signs that his body was paying the price. And yet, even with all the success, there was always a sense that something was missing. Because fame doesn't erase the struggles that came before it. It just hides them better. And for someone like Jason Statham, who built his identity on strength and resilience, showing vulnerability was never part of the image. But that doesn't mean it wasn't there. Behind the scenes, the pressure to maintain that persona can become isolating. Because when the world sees you as unstoppable, it becomes harder to admit when you're struggling, harder to ask for help, harder to slow down. And over time, that silence can become one of the heaviest burdens to carry. Relationships, too, come with their own challenges. Balancing a demanding career with personal life is never easy, especially when the expectations of fame are constantly pulling you in different directions. And while his relationship with Rosie Huntington-Whiteley has often been seen as stable and supportive, even that comes with its own pressures. Living under constant public attention means that even the most private moments are never truly private, and maintaining a sense of normalcy becomes almost impossible. And then there's the reality of aging in an industry that thrives on youth and reinvention. At 59, the expectations don't disappear, they evolve. The demand to stay relevant, to remain physically capable, to continue delivering performances that meet the standards he set in his prime. It's a challenge that doesn't get easier with time. It gets harder, because the body changes, the risks increase, and the margin for error becomes smaller. But the expectations remain just as high, if not higher. And that creates a silent conflict between what the world expects and what the body can realistically endure. And for someone who built his entire career on physical dominance, that conflict can be incredibly difficult to navigate. Because stepping back doesn't just feel like a career decision, it feels like losing a part of your identity. And that's where the tragedy becomes most apparent. Not in a single moment, but in the accumulation of everything he's had to carry. The sacrifices, the risks, the pressure, the silence. It's a story that isn't defined by one event, but by a lifetime of pushing forward no matter the cost. And while the world sees the success, the wealth, the fame, the reality is far more complex. Because behind every achievement is a history of struggle that never fully disappears. And even now, as he continues to work, continues to perform, continues to deliver the kind of intensity that made him a global icon, There's an underlying truth that can't be ignored. That the journey that brought him here wasn't just difficult, it was relentless. And the impact of that journey doesn't fade with time. It stays, shaping every decision, every performance, every moment. And that's what makes his story so powerful. Not just the success, but the cost of achieving it. Because in the end, Jason Statham isn't just an action star. He's a reminder of what it takes to survive in a world that never stops demanding more. And the question that lingers isn't just how he got here, but how much of himself he had to sacrifice along the way to make it happen.